Digital Innovation Web Day. We will have 3 exciting sessions today for the next 3 hours, basically. My name is Faraz Al-Samawi. I lead the Digital Innovation programs across EMEA, and I will lead the first session, the first hour, together with my colleague, Dr. Thomas Fuhrmann from AWS Professional Services. So I will talk in the first part of the session about innovation at Amazon and what the drivers for innovation at Amazon are, and how we at AWS are kickstarting the innovation journey for our customers and helping them to transform through the Digital Innovation Program. And the second session, which is led by Thomas, he will actually tell you about how AWS ProServe is making digital innovation happening at our customers with some insights and references. So let's start with innovation at Amazon. And I want to take you back in time to 1995 and what was considered one amazing innovation at that time. We have introduced in 1995 a tool, so-called artificial intelligence tool, which would tell our customers if their favorite author would have published something new, a new title, and notificate him. And back to today and where we are seeing innovation today, it is basically in the field of artificial intelligence as well, but on a different level, of course, right? So this is an example from one of our services that we consume internally, but also offer to our customers around image recognition powered by deep learning. And this service, for instance, will give you the classification of objects, scenes, spatial attributes, and personas. So, for instance, you can feed the service with an image of a house or whatever scene, and we'll give you back a classification of objects. This example highlights how actually the outcome imitates the way a human would perceive an image or a certain scene. So in this example, what you see here is that the deer is on top of the list, although the deer is only taking a relatively small portion of the surface of this picture. But then again, artificial intelligence and the deep learning algorithm is basically imitating how the human would perceive this picture, right? And what is also of particular interest for us and for many customers is knowing the sentiments, the feelings of people in certain scenes. When we're talking about artificial intelligence and innovating in that space, we're also breaking through a new generation of services that will basically allow us to completely interact differently with systems around us, right? So while the first generation was more about the physical interaction with systems, the second generation, which I will count even the modern smartphones and computer systems is about predefined user interfaces where somebody has thought about how to bring you that system closer, but you have to still learn how to use it. But if we're talking about conversational interactions, we're looking at ways of naturally interacting basically with systems, and we're enabling that also through a set of services. For instance, Polly, which will take text to a human processed language, so it basically transforms text to sound and deals with the ambiguity of our language, right? So, for instance, the example that you see in the middle, we live for the music live from the Madison Square Garden. It's something that we intuitively do good as humans, but for machines, it is a bit of a challenge to process that. And this service will be getting you there and getting you the right output when it comes to actually imitating the ways human speaks. It goes, of course, the other way around. So, for instance, Amazon Lex will open for you scenarios to actually understand humanly spoken language and open completely new ways of, again, interacting with systems, deploying chat services, or even interacting with existing enterprise systems. And what you see, of course, as a materialization of these services is when you start talking through your Echo to Alexa, or using the next generation of the Echo Show and Look, which will basically give you a style database, a possibility to store the pictures from you and your outfits over time, and even get some feedback if you want, based on expert input and artificial intelligence, that will tell you if your style is up to date or not. And of course, these services, they enable new ways of shopping even in the physical world. Like, so for instance, Amazon Go in this example, where you can basically, as a customer, walk into a shop and pick products from the shelf, put some of them back, and basically walk out of it without the need to check out or walk through a cashier or cashing machine. Right. So this will also open up completely new ways of how we actually do shopping in the physical world as well. So Amazon is innovating across many domains. The most of them, of course, you know from being an Amazon customer. Many of you are also AWS customers. We also are innovating internally when we're thinking about how to make the logistics process more efficient using robots, or how to make deliver a better experience for our Prime customers via drones, for instance. And the question is, how could a company that started selling books online 2 decades ago actually get to this point, right? So what was the driver of innovation, basically, that got us from there to here? And here I have to be very, very clear, right? As much as we like to talk about technology and services, at the end of the day, the platforms and the technologies will enable you to get there. But the main driver, the principal component for innovation, is indeed to be found in the culture, right? So it is the culture that got us here. And when I talk about culture, it is not just an abstract concept for us, right? We have something that defines our culture that we call the leadership principles, that basically tell us, give us guidance on a day-to-day basis on how to take decisions and how to look at problems and how to measure our success. And again, these are not abstract concepts, but really principles that we live up to. And I will highlight this by showing you some examples that will underline how the leadership principles actually work on a day-to-day basis at Amazon. Right? So starting with one that was recently discussed by Jeff Bezos in his letter to shareholders, is have backbone, disagree, and commit. So the background of this one is basically we all like to take well-informed decisions. Right? When we're taking decisions, we like to collect lots of data and make good quality decisions. But in the age of digital, and especially if leaders are in driver's seat, sometimes it is not possible to collect all the data desired before taking a decision. Right? So leaders should be capable of actually going ahead and taking a decision, even if they do not have the full set of information they wish to have. First and foremost is because many of the decisions that we take are reversible, right? So you can course correct them over time. And secondly, you need to be fast, right? You need to place bets, and therefore sometimes you need to take a decision and do that based on the information you have, rather than wait and lose the opportunity to go after something, right? So this says a lot about the leadership culture here at Amazon and how our management and senior management actually operates. When we talk about culture and how culture reflects, mechanisms are also something where you will see our culture actually being lived on a day-to-day basis, right? Mechanisms in the sense of repeatable processes that are executed, that people follow here at Amazon. And of course, our strongest one is coming from our customer obsession. We want to be the most customer-obsessed company in the world. Therefore, customer obsession is also on top of the Amazon Leadership Principles list. And it is actually reflected very strongly in the way we actually see ourselves and the way we actually start inventing, right? So when we start inventing, we stop ourselves from thinking about potential features or business cases. We really force ourselves to look at who is actually the customer, what are the customer needs that we're trying to solve here, what is the customer problem that we're trying to help our customer with before we start thinking about features, right? And this is meant by our customer obsession and more precisely by our mechanism to work backwards from the customer when we start thinking about inventions and when we start moving forward with how we innovate, basically. We also have a strong culture of experimentation, and experimentation is something very crucial for companies that would like to innovate. In fact, being capable of innovating is strongly correlated by the way how you can actually conduct experiments, or more precisely, by the potential collateral damage that a failed experiment could cause. And this shows, again, two aspects, right? One of them, and the first one I would say, is how management perceives an experiment and a failed experiment. The management should never punish for an experiment, even if it fails. And per definition, experiments can fail, right? So if you know that an experiment is not going to fail, then it's not an experiment, basically, right? And therefore, management should actually encourage experimentation and not being there to punish. And the second thing, of course, the collateral damage of an experiment is caused by the upfront investment that you need to put in place when you start an experiment. Right? But here the power of the clouds is really, really playing into, and this is one reason why Amazon could grow so big in all these directions, is because AWS was there as the underlying platform enabling experiments. And when we want to prototype, we were not forced to put big bets in investments in infrastructure, but we could basically consume as we go. And this is also the way our customers work. And this is actually the way, if you think about it, this is actually the way where the cloud is the most powerful, right? As an engine, as a fertilizer to enable your experimentation, because you pay only for what you use, and you can basically apply everything that you could think about, from a new web shop digital platform for services to a mobile application. You can start connecting your devices via IoT. You can start applying the machine learning services that we saw at the beginning. You can run high performance computing to simulate the usage of new materials in your business context. And you can do that at any scale, basically anywhere on the planet, right? So this opens up huge potential for companies just to go in and start experimenting and see, like, where is the potential future, where are the new cases that we want to look after, right? And that is what is all about at the end of the day, because what you're really trying to do when you experiment is not playing with technology per se, but validating that your business idea is actually something that you should pursue or not, right? It is about that. You put a hypothesis in place and you look, is this going to work or not? And this is the way we operate, basically. And this is the way our customers work, that they look after opportunities, they start prototyping, developing MVPs, testing them against the market, how is it perceived by our customers, and then they scale them, and they can do that immediately once it works. And how could you say it better than through the voice of a customer? So, for instance, one of our customers here in Germany, and this is a customer coming from the German Mittelstand, basically. So it's not the Ubers or Airbnbs, the cloud-born companies that is talking about how they experiment and how they scale, but is really a rather traditional, coming from the manufacturing and automation side, company that is And in this example, Matthias Mertens is talking about how they actually start testing an assumption and scaling it once they find out that the new service is being perceived successfully in one area, right? And this is how we started, right? Where Prime was nothing else than an idea to deliver products for customers in a very short amount of time, and give them a Prime experience, basically. And we could do that by starting with this idea on the platform, and once we saw that yes, there is potential and it actually adds value to our customers, we were able to scale it and roll it out globally, right? And of course, when you come back to the retail business, this is also the way we have been operating and gradually moving on from the bookstore business to all kinds of products that we're selling right now. And what you see here is also that on the right upper corner, when we start interacting with our customers, we like to give our customers recommendations on what they could purchase or what they would like. So what we're really good at, what we're really trying to be good at, is constantly listening to our customers and adding value by opening them up new ways of basic consuming and looking for products online, right? So this is something where we really put a lot of effort into our business, is listening to customers, and when we do that, we do it on a very fast pace. So it is really about being capable of keeping the feedback cycles from the customers to yourself short. And one number indicating that is this one here, so 11.6 seconds, and that is basically the average time during the week between deployments that happen live in production to Amazon.com, right? So that means two things. That means that we're, again, constantly listening to customers, constantly looking at where we can improve the site and open up new services and new ways of interacting with them. But it also means that we have realized that if you start building up platforms that can be complicated, right, because they involve lots of many services and ways of interacting, that changing the platform in small iterations is far more powerful than deploying big updates to start improving it. So it's really about iterating at high speed, course correcting, rather than planning upfront and long term. And this is something, of course, challenging for companies that have a strong background in processes, in quality of manufacturing things, for instance, right? So again, we are talking here to many customers that are not cloud-born, right? We have the cloud-born ones also, of course, but here, many customers that are not cloud-born and that are proud of what they have actually achieved, right? A strong portfolio of high-quality services and the reputation, that have to rethink the way they approach developing ideas and products in the digital world, right? Because here you're basically capable of listening to your customer, really deploying the feature that your customer wants and needs, and you can do that because the cost of deployment and changes is very, very low, right? So here again, we're helping our customers to move into that direction and to know where to invest rather in the old style quality and process driven areas, and where to rethink the way they're organized and they're setting up their culture. To sum it up with the words from a car manufacturer, basically, and to put an overall context to it, it really doesn't matter from which industry you're coming from, right? And these are examples from companies that are also rethinking the way they can actually develop into the digital space, and how they can actually leverage the cloud and the platform but also introduce new ways of developing ideas and coming up with them, being also a software company and not a company, for instance, that is only present in the hardware space. Let's talk a bit about organization and how our culture actually manifests in our organization. And one of the strongest examples of how we're organized in terms of development and development teams would be definitely the two pizza teams, right? So basically, our development teams are only as big as you can feed them with two pizzas, right? That's why they're called two pizza teams. So you end up with a team not bigger than 8 to 10 people that would take ownership of a product or service, right? And this is a very important concept for us when we start developing, whether, again, it's for Amazon, whether it's for Amazon Web Services. This is something that is that you will find all over the place, a strong sense of ownership towards products and services. And to give you a bit of a quote, we believe that it is really important for the success and for our success. And what is really interesting, fascinating about it, that this quote is from 2006, right? So the concept of having an integrated DevOps team, of taking ownership, was developed in very, very early phases at Amazon. And it also brings, of course, with the notion of ownership, the other notion of being close to the customer, right? Once you have a team that takes responsibility of something end to end, you also have that team in proximity with the customer, and they can listen to their customer at best and start innovating based on the customer feedback that they get. So here again, you would see many of our leadership principles actually reflected in the approach of how we set up teams and we organize them, whether it's customer obsession on ownership, learn to be curious, right? Learn about your customer constantly, dive deep, solve problems, go down several layers if it's required, even in the technology and in the algorithms that you need to implement, and of course, take decisions from within the team, right? You are the team, you take the decisions, so take them and commit to them, basically. Which brings me to the question of how do we share all this, right? So we at AWS thought about how can we share basically the lessons learned from our journey so far with our customers, whether it is in respect to the customer relationship experience that companies are providing, or whether it is about completely new value propositions or internal services, right? There is something about the DNA of digital business that Amazon has and that we are offering now to our customers via the Digital Innovation Program. And when we do that, of course, we work backwards from the customer, right? So what we do here is basically, and this is the framework of the program, is that we start looking at the customer's vision. So where is the digital vision? Where do you want to be in some years? What are the business models that you're following? And from there, we start looking at what are the digital offerings that basically reflect that vision. And can we take a look at it? Can we scope it? Do you want us to take a look at it from the sense of how would Amazon think about your next digital proposition? And then we start implementing, because again, it's about doing it by yourself. And when we implement, we happen to have some knowledge around building cloud-native applications. So we're sharing that knowledge. And even more important, we're sharing and exchanging the knowledge on how to set up the teams and to bring in a culture that is required to start developing and deploying and iterating in very, very short cycles. And I cannot highlight enough how important it is that we actually identify projects that are strongly aligned with the vision of our customer, right? Again, this is not about playing with technology or benchmarking certain services. This is about finding opportunities where there is a concrete customer value for our customers, and ideally where we can help our customers actually receive enablement, right? Because this is an exercise mainly about letting our customers innovate by themselves, getting in there, kickstarting their journey, and not outsourcing the IP there, right? So basically, what customers need to realize is that the digital offerings that they're building are reflecting their intellectual property of the future, and that is something that they need to take in their own hands. So think about the car design of a car manufacturer. Right? This is nothing that a car manufacturer basically outsource. So they need to build on the capabilities in-house, and we're willing to help our customers get there. And getting there, of course, means starting to leverage new architectures, whether it is on the application side or on the data side. So let me touch down a bit on the data side and what we can do here in a bit of an abstract model. So if you think about the value of data in relation to time, basically in relation to the time it's being generated, right? So what you would have on the right side here is the historical data that you have collected on your customers, on your machines, on your markets over time, on the right side again. And on the left side it is the data that you will receive from the moment you actually interact with your customer, right? And what really adds value or what really helps our customer taking the value out of the data is basically developing models based on the data they have, and being capable of applying these models at the moment they're interacting with their customers, because that is actually the moment where they can deliver the most value to the customers, right? And when we do that, we can teach our customers how to leverage these terabytes or even petabytes of data without spinning up many servers, but doing that serverless, basically, right? So even the processing can happen without using traditional systems that basically require that you have servers running up all time, in contrast to the modern approach of doing that just in time and when you need it, even if you're dealing with large amount of data and petabytes of data. And again, last but not least, the operating model, the knowledge sharing around how to actually assemble a team that takes full ownership, that works cross-functional, is very critical. And this is also carried out by the program. To summarize it, the Digital Innovation Program will share the DNA of innovation with our customers. What we need from customers is engaging at the leadership level, clarification on where their vision is. We will work backwards to identify from the vision offerings that we can, again, use to carry out beacon projects. And in these beacon projects, we demonstrate how fast actually you can get from the idea to the first prototype deployed. And when we do that, we execute with the help of the AWS professional services and the enablement partners. So professional services will be basically represented by Thomas Fuhrmann, who will present after me. But just to highlight the importance of our partners, I have summed up at some points why the partners that are basically carrying out the sessions at 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. have been selected by us to work on the Digital Innovation Program. So when we selected these partners, we made sure that these partners are focusing really on enabling our customers versus outsourcing. So they understood that digital is something that needs to be insourced, so they are focused on enabling, taking the IP into your own hands. These partners, they live an example. They are not structured in silos. They live and breathe the cross-functional, product-centric approach. They believe that things need to change from within, so it is not something that you can dictate as a strategy concept, but you really have to live the culture and mechanisms to start changing. And if you look at their profile, they're really at top-notch when it comes to innovating, leveraging technology. These guys, they write books, they lead communities, and they discuss how modern architectures can actually help changing the space and the future for customers. Right. So stay tuned for the sessions at 2 p.m. from CodeCentric and at 3 p.m. from our friends from Contino. I'm finished with my part, and I'm happy to hand over to Thomas Fuhrmann, who will give you a bit of a perspective on how ProServe enables our customers to innovate in the digital space.
Hi, here's Thomas. And I think I need to become presenter here. Okay. So I'm not sure what you are seeing now. Okay, I have it here on my screen. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about AWS professional services today, and I will especially focus on digital innovation and how AWS professional services can act as a facilitator in that space. Let me briefly introduce myself. I have worked with startups for a long time. I have been in the academic area for a long time. And now I'm working with large enterprises in Germany, across Europe, and I'm teaching them how startups think, how innovation can work in practice, how you can make a company that has been successful in their space for the last decades, how that company can become innovative at a speed that startups have. If you think about the market today, then this is often compared to a jungle. It feels like you are lost somewhere, there is no clear path, you don't know where it ends up, you don't know how to survive in that jungle. There are snakes, spiders, tigers, it is dangerous, and you have no clue where you are. And one mission for AWS Professional Services is to be a guide in that jungle, to help these enterprises find their way in this jungle and help them bridge all the nasty things that are there on the ground and have the vision as if you are up in the cloud and you can easily walk across the way you want to get to. You want the destinations that you want to reach to be above of all that. So AWS Professional Services acts as a facilitator to build these skyways, these bridges across the nasty evils that are down there in the market space, and it lifts you up to the cloud and helps you achieve your ambitions and your goals. Let me dig a bit deeper into what we do in that space. So building bridges is a nice thing, but it has to be done on ground. So it is not only that you have this final result, but you have to get there. And every company has to get there on their own. So it is not that we as AWS Professional Services carry our customers across all the nasty evils. We teach them how they can build these bridges, how they can master the ways through the jungle and find their ways across the difficulties that they see in practice. So we help a lot by giving direction, by giving indication which way is the right way to go, and show them all the tricks that are needed in that space. If you think about traveling these ways across the channel, it quickly can become very dangerous. And this is why it is so important to engage a partner, be it a third-party partner or be it AWS professional services, to help you across these difficult ways. We know these paths, and we can show you how to navigate these problems. So for example, if you are a traditional enterprise, then you have your traditional structures, and these structures have their own currents and drafts, and we can help you structure a project that incorporates what you have as a culture, what you have as structures, what you have as requirements, be it security, compliance, or other business requirements, and we can help you structure a project that accommodates all these requirements in a safe and secure way. And when you start going that path through the jungle, then it is important to start small but then scale out quickly, because if you end up at the ocean, then the life becomes even more difficult. And this transition from a small POC, proof of concept pilot project to the ocean is a very crucial one. And this is also something where AWS Professional Services focuses on, help you bring that small pilot project that you did on the rivers of the innovation, bring it out to the ocean and help you set it up so that it scales to an ocean level. So essentially what AWS Professional Services is the prescriptive advice, the experienced guidance that you need to have a successful project along these lines. Let me give an example of what you want to do maybe in that space. So you have an idea about an application. Maybe it's an application that works already in your on-premise data center and that you want to lift to the cloud. Maybe you have an application already in the cloud and you want to re-architect it to become more efficient, more scalable, to become more secure. We would help you take that application and work from there. We would ask you for a team that is composed of all the stakeholders that are necessary for that. So people from the business side who know what you want to achieve, people from the development teams who actually can build software, can improve your existing software or can build software from scratch, people from the operations side who will actually run that application once it will go live, who know about all the difficulties and quirks of that so that you can safely put the application into production to your customers. We would ask for the team to also contain people from your security or compliance experts who are familiar with all the requirements that the company, that an enterprise has to keep in mind to have a secure, scalable, and compliant application. And depending on your structure, there might be other departments. So sometimes testing is a separate department, and of course you would need people from testing. Maybe customer support is a separate department, then we would need people from those teams as well. So it is important that everyone is sitting at the table and doing that project from the first day on, so that everyone is on the same page and can learn from each other. For that to be successful, it's also important that these people who will work on that project are fully dedicated to this project. So you have to take them out of their day jobs. You have to give them the ability, the freedom to work on that project to fully focus on it and dedicate their entire working hours to this pilot, to this POC that you can they have to be co-located. They have to sit in the same office, in the team room, where they can interact on a personal level, where they can go to the whiteboard, draft their ideas, work together. And for all that to be successful, you need, of course, the backing from your management, from the C-level, so that you are safe, that you know it is okay to do it that way. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to fail, but you should fail first and learn from that. And when you have these ingredients together, then you can explore new ways, go to new shores, and see if you can bring your company beyond what it has done so far. Let me pick an example. So think of a company that has been building ships so far and that is now thinking of what they want to do in future, because maybe the ships are still successful, but eventually they won't be anymore. Then one of these pilot projects could be that you get together and think backwards from your customers. What do they want to have? Maybe they want to have flying ships or self-sustained structures flying in the air, hooking things into mid-air so that you can build nice structures in the air. And then you walk backwards from that and think what is necessary for that. And you can do that because you have all the team in one room. They can create ideas, they can discuss, they can quickly try out things. This is the advantage of the cloud, that it's not costly, not time consuming to set something up. You can quickly do so and build an idea and see if it works or if it does not work. This is what we facilitate in these projects. So we come in, we know all the tooling that is necessary to cross the ocean, to go to new shores that you have not seen before, and we can work with your teams on exactly creating these ideas, trying them out, setting them up, and making sure at the same time that eventually everything that this team is doing will fit into your corporate IT strategy, into the compliance and security requirements that you have. This is the added value that we give. So we have the tooling, we can show you how to use the tooling, and we can work with enterprises that are large, that are often slow to react, and we can take this team and start pulling your enterprise along the way out into the ocean, where you then can navigate the waves and go to new shores. So it's a combination of knowing the tools, showing your teams how to use the tools, knowing the right ways which might be successful, what is maybe not so successful, assist your teams in experimenting and help the teams gain speed, gain agility in mastering the waves. And working with a team is a very important aspect in the whole thing, because it is important to have this guidance along these experiments, because you are exploring something new. You are venturing into the unknown, and for that, the added value of an experienced partner is a very helpful ingredient in being efficient while you explore that space. So this is the value that AWS Professional Services can bring to you. I have illustrated that with pictures and told you a lot about discovering the jungle, going out into the ocean. But in fact, this is actually something real that we do with a lot of enterprises, large enterprises, And we have successfully worked with these companies, with teams inside these companies, to set up new applications, bring existing applications either natively directly to the cloud or improve on their existing assets they have already in the cloud, work with these teams. And from our experience, you typically need these small teams, 4 to 6 people. You need time between 4, 8, or 12 weeks and work together. And then you can create in that time frame something that really has value for your customers that you can put out as a new product and create additional value from there. Let me briefly highlight the different offerings that we have around that. So besides this general guidance that we give to our customers, we have specialized offerings that we can provide to you. And let me briefly walk you through this list. So if you are new to the cloud, it is one typical question that we see to give guidance on how to set up the AWS accounts, how to set up the virtual networks in these accounts, how to hook these networks to the existing infrastructure that the company already has. So we have experts who can teach you exactly that. What is the right structure for your company setup? How can you make sure that it matches what you have so far? Another very typical ingredient is the security and governance. The larger the enterprise, the more rules and regulations you have around that. And we have experience with a lot of these structures. We can help you navigate these internal requirements, help you map them to the new world of the cloud, how your setup will match what you can do and want to do in the cloud. We can, of course, teach your teams in cloud-native application development. So for many teams, they have good experience in the traditional server architectures, multi-tier architectures with databases, web servers, and so on. But when it comes to microservices, when it comes to real cloud-native offerings where you go serverless with your entire application, then we often see that teams are not yet experienced, and we help them build their knowledge, build experience, and trust themselves that they can be successful. Another offering that we see a lot of demand for is the CI/CD pipelining and monitoring. This tooling gives you the ability to quickly move in that new space because you can quickly put ideas that your teams have into practice. So either in a test account where you can play around, have beta tests on that, or you can directly move it into production, have your customers use that, and quickly roll back if a feature fails or is not that successful. That speed and agility in the development cycle is one of the most valuable drivers that you have in this cloud space. Another offering that we are asked for very often is the assistance with the well-architected review. We at AWS have a program that helps you look at your architecture and make sure that your architecture is secure, it is scalable, it is reliable, so that you are safe to travel this digital world, that you can safely put your customer data into the cloud and make sure that you have the right use of the data and work with that data without being afraid that some bad things will happen. And we as AWS Professional Services can help you structure your offerings from the beginning so that you can get this well-architected approval at the end of that pilot or POC project. And finally, let me highlight the data science and big data parts. So as Ferris also pointed out, it is important to make use of all the data that you have today, and that you can build applications that incorporate all the historic data, that incorporate the live data, and improve the value of your products. And we also have offerings around these topics. So I hope I have given you some overview of what AWS Professional Service can do, and if you are interested in that, then drop me an email, contact me, and we can start to discuss on how AWS Professional Services can give you the right help, the right support to be successful with your change. So now I'm looking at the chat, and I see there is a question about the teams. The team, I said the team should be in the same office, and the question is, how do we work with distributed teams and people working from home? So we have seen this quite often. So a lot of our customers have locations spread around the world. And then it's, of course, difficult to get the people into the same room. And then we can, of course, work with virtual rooms and work with the people there. To my experience, it helps a lot to have the personal contact. So it is not necessary to have the people always in the same room. It helps if they are in the same room from time to time. And looking at the successful projects that we had over the last years, I see the tendency that the people show up in these team spaces more often over time. So I like to create this possibility for the teams, and then we work with the people remotely if they are remotely. But then somehow the people start to show up more often, work with the team, work in the same space. So if there are constraints on your side to have the people globally distributed, this is okay. I guess the team itself will discover that it's helpful to at least sometimes travel and be in the same room and share ideas directly. That's my experience that I have seen, and of course it depends on the different setting, on the how your company is structured regionally or globally. So I'm looking if there are more questions, but I don't see any. So I would hand over to the next presenter. Thank you for listening.